Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we kick off another week. Hope you had a great weekend. Some Team USA Olympians have sparked an Olympic boycott after saying that they have mixed emotions about representing America. Now, this is real simple. You should have stayed at home, boys, if you're not proud of your country. Savannah Guthrie and her siblings sent a message to the kidnappers over the weekend. They want their mother back safely, and they're ready to pay the ransom. According to media reports, this afternoon at 5 p.m. is the final deadline given by the kidnappers. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat from Pennsylvania, is predicting a Department of Homeland Security shutdown. The deadline for funding, remember, is this Friday. And Kid Rock's the Rock the Country Festival has canceled what would have been their only stop in South Carolina after Shutdown announced their intention of pulling out over concerns of unity, saying their mission as a band is to unite, not divide. There's a lot to cover today, so let's just get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
As the Winter Olympics kicked off, there was a lot of Americans shaking their heads because, once again, it's not a foreign rival taking shots at the United States. It's our own athletes wearing our flag on the world stage. Team USA is supposed to be about unity, pride, country. It's not a therapy session. It's not group therapy. It's not political protest, and certainly not a place to air grievances about how you feel about America while the rest of the world is watching. But here we are. This week, several U.S. Olympic athletes sparked a firestorm after openly expressing what they called mixed emotions about representing the United States at the Winter Olympics. Let's start with freestyle skier Hunter Hess. Summed it up by saying that wearing the stars and stripes doesn't mean he supports everything, quote, going on in America right now.
I think it brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. I think for me, it's more I'm representing my friends and family back home, the people that represent it before me, all the things that I believe are good about the U.S. I just think if it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
Oh, so mixed emotions, huh? Representing your family and friends, not the country that sent you there. I mean, think about that for a minute. You're willing to try out. You're willingly accepting a spot on Team USA. You willingly put on the uniform, and then you say you just don't feel great about the country? Wow. That's kind of like entitlement, isn't it? And that's the problem with some of these young people. I mean, when you say that it brings up mixed emotions to represent your country, wow. You don't represent yourself or your family and friends at the Olympics. You represent your country. You don't represent your politics. You don't represent your activist hashtags. You represent the United States of America, all of it, the good, the bad, the history, the people, the ideals, the things that you like, the things you don't like. And if that is too heavy a burden, there are thousands of athletes out there who would gladly take your place. Then came another voice from Team USA, freestyle skier Chris Lillis, who said that he's heartbroken by immigration enforcement and protests in the U.S., adding that he hopes people see athletes as the America they're trying to represent.
I love the USA, and I think I would never want to represent a different country in the Olympics. With that being said, a lot of times athletes are hesitant to talk about political views and how we feel about things. I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when, I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect. And I hope that when people look at athletes compete in the Olympics, they realize that that's the America that we're trying to represent.
One of the problems that I have with that, well, actually I have a lot of problems, but at one point he talks about treating our citizens. Is he talking about the illegals that ICE is rounding up to deport? They're not citizens, young man. They're not who you're representing at the Olympics, unless you wear the Mexican flag or you wear some South African or South America or one of these other countries who are coming into our country or came into our country, not anymore, not under Donald Trump, but sneaked in under Joe Biden. Then you need to put their flag on. I mean, basically what he's saying here is not the America that actually exists, but the one that they approve of. Figure skater Amber Glenn jumped in as well, saying that politics affects us all and that she refuses to stay quiet about the Trump administration. Ms. Glenn was critical of the president in a pre-Olympics press conference earlier in the week, saying it had been a hard time for her and members of the LGBT community. Well, I watched some of her skating yesterday. Just happened to see Ms. Glenn disappoint herself and her team when she came in third in part of the team competition. I have a suggestion, young lady, and I know very little about figure skating. Focus on your skating. Leave your woke politics and your criticism out. Maybe you would do better next time. Look, athletes are citizens. I give that. They have opinions. No one's denying that. But there is a time and a place. And the Olympic Games, where millions around the world watch Americans compete under one flag, is not the place to undermine the president, to undermine our country, the country that gave them the opportunity to be there. It's just that simple. Social media erupted almost instantly after these comments. One commentator said, when you wear the stars and stripes, you represent all of us, not just the parts you like. Another wrote, mixed emotions? Then stay home. Let someone else who loves this country shine. And they're right. I mean, a lot of kids around the country had worked all their life to try to get a spot on that team who are proud of the country. And that's the key word here, choice. Nobody forced these athletes to compete for Team USA. Nobody drafted them. Nobody coerced them. They chose this, and with that choice comes some responsibility. You agree? The reality was perfectly captured by someone who actually understands what it means to represent America on the world stage. Mike Urizion, the captain of the 1980 Miracle on the Ice hockey team. Remember that? Peg and I just watched the movie just last week. Urizion did mince words. He said, if you don't represent your country, then don't put on the uniform. That's not politics. That's just respect for the country. Congressman Byron Donalds echoed that sentiment, saying, you chose to wear our flag. You chose to represent our country. If that's too hard for you, then go home. I got to give some credit, though. Quinn Dellinger, also on the team, made a good point when he acknowledged the political divide that we see our country in. But he said the Olympics is a time for athletes of all political ideologies to come together, represent their countries, keep politics out of it. I'm paraphrasing here, create that unity that everyone says that they're out there to achieve. Listen to this young man.
Yeah, the political divide in the United States is very prevalent, and competition and sports is always a way to bring people together, and I think the Olympics is a great spot in that, where it brings every country and all athletes and all aspects of people from everywhere together. So I think that this is just a great way to show one country.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about this young man. He may be just as woke as his other teammates. But he's right in the fact that this is the time to show unity regardless of your political beliefs, regardless of your sexuality, regardless of any of that. You're there with an American flag draped over your shoulders to do one thing, and that's to represent our country. You don't have to love every policy. You don't have to agree with every leader, but if you're going to wear that flag, you got to act like it matters. You got to act like you're proud to do so, because for a lot of Americans and a lot of athletes who never got the chance, it still means a lot. Joey Hudson here. You tried keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting. You lose weight, then it comes right back. You blame yourself, your willpower, your discipline. But here's the truth. It was never about willpower. There's one thing that determines whether your body burns fat or stores it, and if you don't fix that first, every diet will fail. At PhD Weight Loss, they identify that one thing and they build a plan that works with your body, not against it. And if you call now, you're going to get 2 weeks free in the program, and they'll pay for your food so you can finally see real answers without more trial and error. If you've done the yo-yo dieting and want clarity, call PhD Weight Loss now and mention Joey Hudson. No more guessing, just answers. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Say Joey Hudson. That's 864-644-1900. Also find them online at myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Do it once and for all. Lose the weight the right way by calling PhD Weight Loss today. The criminals who claim they have kidnapped Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, made their demands known over the weekend. You know, we have heard various reports over this past week of ransom notes. We're not sure which ones are fake, which ones are from the actual kidnappers. But authorities did release the fact that a demand has been made for $6 million in Bitcoin. This according to a local TV station who say that they received this ransom demand. And the law enforcement, national media are not disputing this. J.J. McKinney with Tucson ABC, KGUN 9, reported multiple ransom notes have been sent out to the media, including one that was sent to us. In the letter, the potential kidnappers demanded that the Guthries pay $6 million before today, Monday, at 5 p.m. The ransom note writer said Nancy Guthrie's life is in peril if the deadline, it's 5 p.m. this afternoon, is not met. Now, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings, Annie and Cameron, pleaded to the anonymous suspects in a new message that was published on Saturday night, begging for the return of their mother.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Wow. And we will pay. That is the message that I'm sure authorities coached her on delivering, because as we know right now, or as has been reported, let me say that, there's no two-way communication going on here. So they have no way of communicating with the kidnappers except through publicly like this, and they're counting on the kidnappers watching the local news and seeing these videos that they've been releasing. Today marks the 9th day in a very intensive search for Nancy Guthrie. She was last seen January 31st after having dinner and a game night at her daughter Annie's home. Nancy was reported missing around noon the following day on Sunday. This past weekend, police made yet another sweep at Annie's home, the daughter, and then again back to Nancy, the mother's home, both in Tucson. Authorities have not publicly detailed the purpose of the activity or what, if anything, was recovered. The Pima County Sheriff's Office has said the investigation remains active with no suspects or persons of interest identified as of yesterday. Now, soon after the video was released on Saturday, social media exploded talking about the wording that was used in that message. Many pointed out that Savannah Guthrie eerily uttered the same words used in the hostage negotiation scene from the iconic horror film Silence of the Lambs. You remember that movie? Savannah said in her voice, "Nancy is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you will see." That is nearly verbatim of the message used in the Oscar-winning 1991 film, in a scene where, if you saw it, you'll recall a senator is coached by the FBI to speak to the captor of his daughter in a live televised address. The goal was to get the monstrous kidnapper to see his victim as a human being. The fictional Senator Ruth Martin said into TV cameras, "Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see." See, it's almost identical to what Savannah Guthrie said in her video. And the movie Silence of the Lambs centered around a brilliant flesh-eating killer, Hannibal Lecter, and it was filmed in part of at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Several FBI agents coordinated with producers to make the film realistic, according to the agency. Now, the attempt to humanize Nancy Guthrie, or any person being ransomed, is standard procedure, according to an FBI agent. Special Agent Lance Leasing said, "A plea to the kidnapper to make them feel empathy is usually powerful. That victim is a commodity, not a person to the captors. It's a very standard negotiator playbook to make the victim appear human, humanizing them to the captor. They didn't purposely try to make that identical to Silence of the Lamb," he added. "It's just standard operation procedure to send out that type of message." Nancy Guthrie, again, this is over a week now since she's been missing. President Trump told reporters, "I think we could have some answers coming up fairly shortly," when asked about this yesterday. Also yesterday, law enforcement investigating the kidnapping were seen searching a septic tank behind Miss Guthrie's house, with drone footage showing them opening a manhole cover in the backyard. 3 detectives, you can see in this video, sticking a long pole down the manhole behind the house, although no further information has been released on what exactly they were looking for. An official police vehicle was also spotted outside of the residence around 11 a.m. local time yesterday, too. It's been a little bit odd in how they have left the premises and come back multiple times. The sheriff over the weekend acknowledged some mistakes had been made. He wasn't specific, just saying some mistakes had been made. He did say that they released the crime scene too soon. As you may recall, they went back out on Friday, retaped it, was there for several hours, then left again. In the video from yesterday, you don't really see them leaving with anything specific. So it's not clear what led them to search the septic tank, or whether they had opened it previously, or if they had new information. Also yesterday, churchgoers at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, where Miss Guthrie worships, joined in prayer led by Pastor John Tittle. According to reports early in the service, Pastor Tittle said the congregation continues to stand with the Guthrie family while honoring the family's privacy. He said the family's request was simple, which is to pray and ask for God's protection over Miss Guthrie, as well as compassion from those responsible for her abduction. Reverend Tittle said, "We're seeking to just honor the family's privacy and their desires. It was communicated to me. Pray. We're going to keep praying through this horrific ordeal," he said. Tittle's prayer also asked God to guide the authorities in their search for Nancy. He further asked God to soften the hearts of those who are responsible so they may do what is humane and right. And look, we can all pray that same prayer, that Miss Guthrie will be returned to her family. Again, I've said this many times, doesn't matter what you think of Savannah Guthrie's politics, we all should be praying for the safe return of this poor woman. Senator John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, is predicting a Department of Homeland Security shutdown, and he's not afraid to say it out loud. He was speaking on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday. The senator said he expects DHS funding to expire at the end of the week. Remember, Friday is the deadline, as when they funded the government a couple of weeks ago, they did not fund DHS. They kicked the can down the road to this Friday. His words, I absolutely would expect that it's going to shut down. Here's the senator.
No, I absolutely would expect that it's going to shut down. I know that we, the Democrats, we provided, I think it was 10 kinds of basic things. And then the Republican pushed back quickly, saying that that's like a Christmas wish list and that they're non-starters. I truly don't know what specifically are the Democrats' red lines, that it has to be. Certainly not going to get all 10. But now, if I had to say now, they would probably expect that there is going to be a shutdown because things are just drowned down to committed to do that. And for me, it's always, as a Democrat, I've always been, just secure our border, deport all the criminals. And now I joined with Katie Britt to deliver the Lakin bill now as well, too. So for me, I think those are very fundamental things that most Americans signed up for. And that's what I'm going to come forward. And I hope it doesn't shut down, because we could all agree to focus on those things. And that's where I'm going to be and where my vote's going to be.
Let's talk about this for a minute, as this deadline is looming, and we're going to hear a lot about this week and why this matters. DHS funding was carved out, as I mentioned, of the broader government spending deal. If it lapses, we're talking about some real-world consequences. TSA agents working without pay at the airports. You planning any traveling anytime soon? You planning to go to an airport Friday, maybe this weekend for a weekend trip? FEMA operations potentially would be disrupted. So in any FEMA projects out there, maybe any areas where FEMA agents are trying to help Americans get back on their feet, could be delayed. Border enforcement would be stretched thin. Now, while Fetterman says he does not support a shutdown, he's being blunt about political reality. Washington may stumble right past the deadline anyway. We've seen it happen. We saw it happen not too long ago. Now, where does the senator break ranks? This is where the story gets interesting. Senator Fetterman is openly breaking with his party's leadership on two major issues. Border enforcement, as you said. And he has always supported President Trump in border enforcement, closing it down, and voter ID. While many Democrats are demanding sweeping changes to DHS, including unmasking agents, mandatory body cameras. Look, I'm not opposed to the body cameras. In fact, I think that would be a great benefit. And they also are demanding that they would have judicial warrants for every single arrest. Senator Fetterman says the basics shouldn't be controversial. His focus is on securing our border, deporting all the criminals. And that would be anybody who's in this country illegally. And keep in mind, the Trump administration and ICE presently are focusing on the worst of the worst. That's it. Full stop. Fetterman's also pushing back on calls from some in his party to dismantle DHS altogether. Now, can you imagine our country without DHS? Can you just imagine it for a minute? This is about as insane as back when the idiots in Minneapolis were demanding to defund the police. I mean, even as Democrats point to recent enforcement actions in Minnesota, again, resulted in 2 American deaths, tragically. But we also know that it's resulted in 4,000 arrests of people who should be taken off the streets and out of our country. Voter ID. This is some consider a quiet political earthquake. Fetterman says requiring ID to vote is not unreasonable. I would tend to agree with the Democrat. He rejects claims that such laws are modern Jim Crow. It doesn't take a whole lot of common sense to recognize that. He points to states like Wisconsin that already require voter ID and says most Americans expect it. And if you look at any of the polls recently, 70+% of Americans across the board, bipartisan, believe that it's not unreasonable to ask someone for their ID to prove who they are, that they are who they say they are, in order to do what is a very precious thing in this country, and that's vote. Republicans, of course, argue that safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act strengthens election integrity. Democrats argue that it creates barriers. Mr. Fetterman, he says regular Americans showing ID to vote is just common sense. I agree. It is. I never can understand the argument against voter ID. When you have to have a ID, a picture, photo ID, to do a lot of things, cash a check, open a bank account, get government benefits in many cases. Why would anybody object to having to show your ID to get to vote? This isn't just about funding. It's about division between the Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats are trying to make a statement, and they understand. Chuck Schumer understands that he has the Republicans in the Senate in a pickle. You've got a Democrat senator by way of John Fetterman acknowledging what many voters already believe. Again, border security, criminal aliens should be deported, election integrity is not radical, but his party totally disagrees with him. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they all believe that we should have open borders. They proved that during the Biden administration by totally supporting the millions and millions of people who came into our country. They certainly do not believe that these criminal aliens should be deported. They have shown that and proven that in their objection to the ICE operations that's taken place successfully city after city after city. But still, we have this potential shutdown coming up on Friday, not because of a foreign crisis or natural disaster, but because Washington can't agree on fundamentals. Senator Fetterman said it very plainly. I don't ever want to vote to shut our government down again. But unless something changes very quickly in the next few days, he thinks that's exactly what we're headed to. And folks, even when members of the president's own party are saying out loud, we can't allow this to happen, and you have a few Democrats like John Fetterman saying, I will vote to support the president not to shut the government down, you got real problems there. And it just shows you how divided our leaders in Washington are. On another note here, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy declared the war on protein is over. This was during a speech to thousands of cattle ranchers in Nashville over the weekend. He was speaking in sort of a fireside chat with National Cattlemen's Beef Association President Buck Weirburn. The two discussed the importance of meat protein, according to an HHS news release about the Thursday event. It was the ranchers who Kennedy commended for being essential partners in advancing the new dietary guidelines for Americans, restoring a food pyramid grounded in real nutrition, he said. The trade show attracted over 9,400 attendees, which included industry professionals as well as many ranchers who raise beef cattle. The secretary thanked America's cattle ranchers for producing real nutrient-dense food, stewarding our land, and sustaining our communities. Mr. Weirburn said that the cattlemen and women in the room appreciated Mr. Kennedy for making certain that beef remains at the center of the plate for the nation's consumers. The speech came one day after Tennessee Governor Bill Lee welcomed Secretary Kennedy to the volunteer state. Again, over 9,400 attendees, people in the beef cattle business. The Governor Lee said, under President Trump and Secretary Kennedy's leadership, Tennessee is leading the way to create innovative, responsible solutions that strengthen families, improve health outcomes. I'm grateful for this administration's commitment to asking hard questions and challenging the status quo so that every Tennessean can live a healthier life. So it looks like, folks, it's going to be okay for us to have a nice, big, thick, juicy steak on our plate. The 2025-2030 dietary guidelines for Americans recommended consuming a variety of protein foods from animal sources, including eggs, poultry, seafood, and, yes, red meat. you had some woke liberals out there who had some chest pains over the weekend, and it wasn't really indigestion. It wasn't heartburn. I can't believe that it takes the Health and Human Services Secretary to say that it's okay to eat a big juicy steak to make it okay. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Sometimes stories just look like they're about something else when they're about something totally different. Let's take, for example, a story that developed here over the weekend here in the upstate of South Carolina. It looked like it was about music, but it's really about something a whole lot bigger. It starts right here in upstate South Carolina, in Anderson to be specific. Days after the band Shutdown announced that they were pulling out of Rock the Country Music Festival, the entire event, is led by Kid Rock, has now been canceled in Anderson, South Carolina. It was scheduled for July 25th and the 26th, 2 days, tens of thousands of people expected to be there, and an all-star lineup: Jason Aldean, Creed, Brantley Gilbert, Gretchen Wilson, big names, big crowds, big money coming into the upstate. And now, nothing. It's gone. County officials say the cancellation is due to unforeseen circumstances. Anderson County Administrator Rusty Burns put it plainly. This event was a huge success the past 2 years, bringing in millions of dollars, showing off Anderson County as a top-tier venue with real hospitality. He's right. It was great to have it here. Hotels were booked. Restaurants were packed, which means local waiters getting tips, vendors thriving. I mean, it was just great for everybody. But this wasn't just a concert. And let's be honest about what really lit the fuse here. Shutdown announced in a very public way that they were backing out of the festival because they said their mission is to unite, not divide. They said they didn't want to participate in something they believed could create division. I mean, they sounded just like some of those Olympic athletes that we talked about earlier in today's show, that they are protesting because they don't agree in the direction our country's going. They don't agree with big old bad Donald Trump deporting people who sneaked into our country illegally. Folks, that's where this conversation is kind of interesting, though, because Rock the Country wasn't a partisan rally. It wasn't a campaign stop. It wasn't a MAGA event. It was marketed as a celebration of America's 250th anniversary, talking about our history, our towns, our stories, our shared vision and freedoms. Yes, freedom, about our freedom. Now, you don't have to love every artist on the bill. You don't have to agree with Kid Rock. You don't have to agree or like Jason Aldean. But at some point, we have to ask, when did celebrating America become so controversial? And again, I get back to these Olympic athletes who just aren't quite feeling it, yet they're representing the country in a worldwide competition. When did red, white, and blue turn into a political statement instead of something that we all share as Americans? Now, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Shutdown. Never been to a Shutdown concert. I don't know that I've ever even seen Shutdown perform. Maybe I know their music and I just don't recognize it. But Shutdown says they want to unite, not divide. Fair enough. Sounds noble. But pulling out of a festival that celebrates a country that has given you, I'm assuming they're fairly successful, given you great opportunity, that celebrates America, and then triggering a chain reaction that ultimately cancels the entire event, does that unite people? Or does it fracture something that had worked in the past? Who's dividing here? Because the people who lose here aren't Kid Rock necessarily. They weren't headliners flying in on private jets. It's the people in the community, in the upstate here, who are going to lose the opportunity to celebrate our country, to celebrate our 250th birthday. But again, all of the other things that came along with that, all of the hotel rooms, all of the restaurants, all of the things in Anderson and the upstate who are going to benefit from that. The people who lose are the small business owners in this area. The food trucks, the local families who are counting on a summer weekend of music, fun, pride in their community. Now, Rock the Country isn't disappearing entirely. The festival is still traveling to other states. As far as we know right now, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and even New York is still on. So the show goes on, just not in the Palmetto State, which raises a very tough question for communities like ours. Are we becoming collateral damage in someone else's cultural statement? And I'd love to hear from some of you who are Shutdown fans. Again, I'm not familiar with their music. Does this affect whether or not you will continue to support their music? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY. Remember, always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. Take advantage of some of the great deals Michael and Dale has up for you. The Giza Dream Sheets, the towel sets, the great mattress topper. All these you're going to get great deals on when you go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Joey. But again, the tough question, like communities like ours, again, are we becoming collateral damage of these cultural wars? Because here's the reality. Music has always brought people together, even when they were totally different. Country fans, rock fans, urban, rural, left, right, everything in between. But lately, we've seen somewhat of a shift, haven't we? I mean, at the awards programs, where all of these very blessed, talented individuals who made a lot of money off the American people, but they just hate the president. And they want to get their 15 minutes of fame by making some crazy, absurd comment while they're accepting the award, rather than just gratefully accepting it and thanking the American people for putting them on that stage to begin with. Instead of music being the common ground, it's kind of being filtered through ideology now. Instead of shared celebration, it's about that opportunity to get your political messaging in, right? And instead of letting audiences decide for themselves, decisions are being made for them. If you come and listen to my concert, if you like my music, then you should listen to me when I tell you about what your political beliefs actually should be. That's not unity. And again, I say to Shutdown, you just created a lot of division. Unity doesn't mean everyone thinks the same. Unity means that we show up anyway, that we recognize this is a wonderful country we're living in. And yes, we're going to differ from our neighbors, but it doesn't mean we still can't work together for the betterment of our country. You can play a festival without endorsing every artist on the stage. You can celebrate America while acknowledging its imperfections. You can stand in front of a crowd and say, we're different, but we're still together. We're still Americans, and we're proud to be Americans. That's real unity. That's what it's all about. A festival celebrating America's 250th birthday is now getting derailed here because Not because of weather or logistics or anything like that. It's because of cultural discomfort. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.